Hi, my name's Martin and welcome to this video representation of Revelation's Rev.NET Quick Start Guide. During this video we're going to be looking at using Rev.NET, we'll take a look at the API, and then we'll take a look at using the .NET calendar control within an OpenInsight application. Now, .NET controls are being used quite a lot in applications these days, and within my own demo application, which is free on request, I actually use a .NET control to open up details of an image. So if I go into this first picture, under camera information, what the .NET control is doing is cracking open the JPEG file, and it's extracting from that all of the information taken from my camera. So the type of camera that was used to take the picture, the F settings, dates, a lot of useful information for people that are involved with photography. Okay, so using the Rev.NET. Rev.NET functionality is contained in a series of APIs that OpenInsight programmers can call to create and manipulate .NET classes. These can be either visible classes like tree controls, disk controls, etc., or functional classes like encryption classes. You must first establish which assemblies you wish to use, and then you may create objects from the classes in those assemblies. Once you've created an object, you can determine its methods, properties, events, etc. You can also invoke those methods, set and get properties, register for events, and more. The figure on the screen shows some of the basic plus code that's necessary to control the .NET list view, but we'll take a closer look at that in the third part of this video. To assist you in navigating through the capabilities of the .NET framework, the .NET Explorer tool has been released in version 9.1. Here I've opened up the systems.windows.forms and navigated to the month calendar. So using the .NET Explorer, you can see a full list of the properties, methods, fields if there were any for this particular control, events, interfaces, and you can also see what the control will look like. Furthermore, for visible controls, you can go in and manipulate the visible properties and see how this affects the display. So what I can do is I can come over here, and if we just come down a little bit, we can find the first day of the week. At the moment it's set to default, and if I drop that down and change that to Thursday, you'll see that the display has changed to represent Thursday as the start of the week. Using Rev.NET, you use the familiar environment of OpenInsight to manipulate all of the actions of the .NET control. Note that many of these actions are fairly complex and thus do not require a significant amount of code, some of which is hidden from you when the .NET control is used, for example in the Visual Studio environment. With Rev.NET you get to see and control all the behind the scenes functionality. Okay, let's take a look at the API. Before communicating with .NET, you must first create a Rev.NET object in OpenInsight. This object can be created by putting a Rev.NET OCX control on a form, or it can be created dynamically. If the .NET objects you wish to create are visible controls, such as our calendar control, then you must use the OCX version of the Rev.NET object. If, however, you are going to be manipulating data that does not require a visible interface, then you can use either the OCX control or a dynamically created Rev.NET object. In either case, be sure to include the Rev.NET equates insert item into your stored procedure. This insert item declares all of the API functions for Rev.NET as well as equated variables referenced in Rev.NET itself. If you wish to put an actual Rev.NET control on a form, select the OLE control from the Forms Designer toolbox, name it to whatever you wish, and specify rev.net.invoker as the OCX information. In either the form-based or dynamic Rev.NET scenario, you must initialize the Rev.NET environment by calling start.net before using any of the Rev.NET APIs. Start.net returns a handle that will be used to communicate with the Rev.NET object. If you are using a form-based Rev.NET, then the passed-in parameter is the control ID of the Rev.NET OCX control. If you're dynamically creating a rev.net object, then the parameter to start.net is not specified. After creating the rev.net object, the assembly name property must be set to specify the path or paths where the .net classes you wish to create can be found. This is done with the set_property.net function. If desired, multiple paths may be specified using @fm. To create a specific .net object, we can call the create_class.net function. This function requires the handle to the previously created rev.net object, the name of the class you wish to create, and whether this object should be visible when created, and returns a handle to the .net object. If the .net object you wish to create requires additional parameters, you may specify the parameters and their .net types after the visible flag. Multiple parameters can be specified, again using @fm. Parameters and their types should be associated. There should be the same number of types as there are values specified. You can determine a variety of information about the .net controls class using the get_info.net function. The get_info.net function can return details about the properties, methods, events, fields, and interfaces of any .net class. If you wish to capture any events that the .net object raises, you can call the events.net API. In addition, you must specify in your form that the rev.net control should respond to the OLE event, and you must handle the OLE event in your commuter module. Note that the details provided by each event will vary by the type of event. You can now proceed to set properties of the class with the set_property.net. You can also get properties with get_property.net. In some cases, the get_property.net call may be needed to return additional .net objects. If this is the case, specify an additional parameter to indicate that the returned value should be treated as an object instead of just a normal return value. If you wish to return a particular value in an index field, you may specify the index or indices in square brackets after the property name. To invoke methods on the .net object, you can use the send_message.net. If you have parameters to specify in the send_message.net call, you must specify the parameter and optionally the .net type of the parameter after the name of the method. Multiple parameters can be specified using @fm. The parameter type should be associated with the parameter values. For instance, if there are 10 values that you are passing, there should be 10 types specified as well. If you do not specify a type for a parameter value, rev.net will attempt to determine the appropriate type for you. If the method you are invoking will return a new .net object, then you must pass any additional flags at the end of the send_message.net call to indicate that you wish the return value of the function to be treated as a rev.net object. When you no longer need one of the created .net objects, you should call the free_class.net API to remove it from memory. If free_class.net is called with an empty parameter, then all .net objects will be freed.